Yeah, I see the title, man. Let's
There
get to
have
it.
been a number of legendary individual playoff runs throughout the course of modern NBA history, with many all-time greats coming to mind. But when you evaluate the level of competition faced, the supporting casts, and the individual dominance displayed, there is an obvious answer as to what the greatest run in post-merger modern NBA history is, and it isn't close. And the NBA is a dynastic league, with the annals of its history littered with a series of dominant, multi-year championship runs. Beginning in 1987, when the Magic and Kareem Lakers defeated the Celtics in the finals, and running all the way through to the year of 2002, when the Kobe and Shaq Lakers beat the Nets to capture their third consecutive NBA crown. Only one single year in that entire 15-year span featured an individual champion that did not win at least back-to-back titles. And that was the 1999 San Antonio Spurs in a strike-shortened 50-game season. But after the Shaq and Kobe three-peat in 2002, the NBA, a sport of dynasties, had lost its way. The league was searching for the next great run, and from the years of 2003 through 2007, the NBA would have no repeat champion, but there would be a familiar face to surface over the 5-year span. And in 2007, it seemed that the NBA was finding its way to another dynasty. While never able to defend a single championship, the San Antonio Spurs had just won their third title in 5 years. And for Tim Duncan, it was his fourth title since 1999. So while the Spurs and Tim Duncan seemed to be the new dynasty taking over from the Kobe and Shaq reign of the earlier part of that decade, the NBA media was clamoring at the time with excitement over the presumptive next new face of the league, who surfaced in those 2007 playoffs on a team that the Spurs had just swept in the finals. LeBron James. James had just navigated arguably the weakest conference in playoff history, before averaging just 22 points per game in the finals on 35% shooting from the field in that 4-game sweep. But all seemed as it should for the league, with a humble, defense-first team player helming the new NBA dynasty and a flashy up-and-comer, already grabbing Jordan comparisons, dubbed the Chosen One by the NBA's media. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, things seemed bleak for the previous alleged next Jordan in Kobe Bryant. Coming off of his three-peat with Shaq just 5 years earlier, many thought Kobe was set to inherit the league when he and Shaq went their separate ways following the 2004 NBA season. And while Duncan was busy winning his fourth title and LeBron was emerging as the new media darling, Kobe was leading the league in scoring for a second year in a row in 2007. His 31.5 points per game were nearly 3 points more than the second leading scorer that year, Carmelo Anthony. And Bryant was coming off of, arguably, the greatest single-season scoring explosion ever a year
he averaged
earlier,
like 35 that year before,
when he scored 35.5 points per game, becoming just the second player ever at the time.
That's a very defensive-oriented era, too. So it's like, sheesh. Slower pace
in post-merger modern history to top 35 per game, the first since Jordan in 1987. So as Kobe was lighting the league up in scoring back-to-back seasons, while also being named first-team All-NBA and first-team All-NBA defense, it wasn't translating much in the form of team success, as Bryant lost back-to-back seasons in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs, losing both years to the Phoenix Suns. This, of course, due to Kobe's selfish and inefficient, ball-hogging, me-first mentality, killing the team and destroying the Lakers organization.
What?
Well, either that or the Lakers were squandering one of the most elite primes in NBA history with a series of pathetic front office moves. Aside from Bryant, the players to log at least 22 minutes per game for the Lakers in those 2 seasons included Lamar Odom, Smush Parker, Kwame Brown, Chris Mim, Devin George, Luke Walton, and Maurice Evans. These top 7 rotational players, aside from Bryant, combined to make exactly 0 total All-Star appearances ever for their entire career.
Sheesh.
It's garbage!
The Suns, meanwhile, had 3 All-Stars on that team that beat Bryant in the playoffs in that 2007 first round. Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire, and Shawn Marion, with Nash and Stoudemire earning
I never even knew Shawn Marion was an
All-NBA
All-Star.
first-team honors that year. And with those Suns still very much in the heart of their run, along with the reigning NBA champion Spurs in the conference, the Dirk Nowitzki Mavericks coming off of a 67-win season, and other tough teams like the Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady Rockets, who were a 50-win team at the time, and the Carmelo Anthony Nuggets, who would add Allen Iverson in the offseason, it was easy to see why there was little excitement or hope for Kobe and the Lakers heading in to the 2007-2008 season, as they entered that year with virtually the same roster they had the previous 2 seasons, with their one big, flashy off-season acquisition being bringing Derek Fisher back. The previous season in Utah, Fisher averaged 10 points per game. For his career, spanning 20 seasons, Fisher was a serviceable, fringe starting NBA player, posting career averages of 8 points per game, 3 assists, and 2 rebounds. The best season of his career was with the Golden State Warriors in the 2005-2006 season, when he averaged 13 points per game, 4.5 assists, and 2.5 rebounds. Fisher made 0 All-Star appearances and was selected to 0 All-NBA teams in his 20-year career.
0.0.
And that was the big off-season splash to supplement a team with literally no other All-Stars on it in the midst of the strongest, deepest conference in NBA history. It's no wonder that the Lakers had the 16th best odds in the NBA to win the title that year at plus 3,000, and were the 8th choice by the odds makers when the season began to win the Western Conference. But on January 16th, nearly halfway through the NBA season, the Lakers were shocking the basketball world as they were 26-11 and the number 1 seed in the Western Conference, behind Kobe Bryant playing some of the best basketball of his entire career, and then 20-year-old Andrew Bynum emerging as a pretty serviceable big man, averaging 13 points per game and 10 rebounds, heading into a game in mid-January where he would suffer an injury to his left knee that would ultimately force him to miss the remainder of that season and the entire playoffs. In a response to the injury, the Lakers would finally make a blockbuster deal and build Kobe Bryant the super team he deserved.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. They did
We
make
got my boy
a great
Pau, though.
trade in
That's a
bringing
call.
Pau
Yeah,
Gasol
that's a
over
fact.
from the Memphis Grizzlies in advance of the trade deadline on February 1st, with approximately 30 games remaining in the Lakers season before the playoffs would begin. It was a great trade, but hindsight, along with slobs in the media and on Twitter, have overly romanticized the player Pau was in a desperate and pathetic attempt to discredit Kobe Bryant. At the time of the acquisition, Gasol was 27 years old and in his 7th NBA season. He had career averages at the time of just under 19 points per game, 8.5 rebounds, and 3 assists. In his 7-year career to that point, he had made the All-Star team one time in 2005-2006, had 0 All-NBA team selections, and won 0 total playoff games in his 6 years in Memphis.
0.0.
Yo.
This is a guy that many claim to be Kobe's
Kobe definitely makes the players around him better. You know, we've seen this many times. The Redeem team, you know, and now we seeing this with Pab, you know.
Joining the putrid narrative that Kobe was carried by Shaq years earlier in his first 3 titles. In Gasol, the Lakers were adding a fringe one-time career All-Star onto a roster of misfits, and they only had 2 months and 27 games remaining to integrate him into the lineup before starting their postseason run that year. The Lakers would somehow finish the regular season with the #1 seed in the West, and the writers for once were forced to give Kobe a regular season MVP award. The Lakers' reward for getting that 1 seed was a first-round matchup with the 50-win Denver Nuggets, boasting 2 26-point-per-game scorers on the year in Allen Iverson and Carmelo Anthony. But no problem for LA. Up next would be the Deron Williams, Carlos Boozer 54-win Utah Jazz before getting into the Western Conference Finals against the 56-win defending NBA champion San Antonio Spurs, who were returning their top 5 core rotational players from their championship team a year ago that included 3 future Hall of Famers. The team that humiliated the media's chosen one in the finals, sweeping James 4-0 and holding LeBron to just 22 points on 35% shooting. No such problem for Kobe Bryant, who had 0 All-Stars on his team that year. His trade deadline savior, Pau Gasol, averaged 13 points per game for the series on 44.5% shooting. But the Lakers,
13.4. But you gotta give us a little more than that, you know. You can't just throw out some scoring averages and, you know, what he do on the boards, what he do on the, you know what I'm saying, overall. But even then, we still don't really know. We gotta watch the games. That's one big thing we really gotta watch, you know. That's why I really tuned into the
5.5
games,
rebounds, and 4 assists on 53% shooting would dismantle the defending champion San Antonio Spurs and Tim Duncan 4-1 before colliding with the Boston Celtics' Big 3 in the NBA Finals. And Bryant, with his all-starless roster, came right up against the Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen 3-headed monster that had won 66 games that year and sent all 3 of their future Hall of Famers to that year's All-Star game. The Lakers would push the Celtics to 6 games as Bryant would lead both teams in scoring for the series, with his second leading scorer, Pau Gasol, averaging 14.5 points per game. But in Game 6, Kobe found out that anything was possible.
Anything's possible!
Despite
that clip is legendary. I can't lie. That's a legendary clip. I've never seen that clip as a youngin. Y'all probably heard me. If you watch every video, you probably see me say that clip.
Absurdity of this run. He had to deal with a certain former teammate of his inquiring about how a certain
that's really passion, you know. That's really passion right there, you know. Come on, man. Let it all out. Let it all out,
his
man.
body tasted.
Kobe, you can't do it without me. Everybody, Kobe, tell me how my ass tastes.
In addition to rampant
RP
media
Bob.
speculation of if
Shaq,
he could
boy.
win another title at all. Amid the criticism and in looking at the strength of the Western Conference and the juggernaut he just ran up against from the East, Kobe decided he gave it a good shot, and it was time to take his talents to some other Hall of Famer city and build a super team. Well, actually, Bryant just stayed put with his one-time fringe all-star in Gasol and ran through a playoff gauntlet, never before seen and never seen since, to capture the next 2 NBA titles. In his 3-year finals run, Bryant played 12 total opponents, 11 of which won at least 50 games. The only team that didn't win at least 50 games over their 3 years worth of playoff opponents was the 48-win Utah Jazz, who were their first-round opponent in the 2009 playoffs. Their 2010 first-round opponent was the 50-win Oklahoma City Thunder, with the young trio of Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. Some guy needed a super team to beat that team in the finals. Kobe Bryant beat that team in the first round. To put this in context, in NBA history, there have only been 4 teams to face 4 50-plus win opponents in a single postseason. The 1995 Rockets, the 2001 Lakers, the 2008 Lakers, and the 2010 Lakers. Kobe Bryant responsible for 3 of the 4 runs. And to put the 10 50-win opponents Kobe beat over the stretch in further context, Larry Bird, Hakeem Olajuwon, and Karl Malone all beat 10 such opponents. Dirk Nowitzki beat 11, while Magic Johnson and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar both beat 14 in their entire careers. LeBron James, meanwhile, beat just 12 50-plus win opponents in the Eastern Conference playoffs during his entire 15-year stint there. Kobe beat 10 in a 3-year span with just Pau Gasol. Kobe, meanwhile, would also lead the Lakers in assists and steals over the 3-year finals run, spanning 67 games in the postseason, while averaging 30 points per game, right in the heart of the slowest paced, lowest scoring decade in NBA history. His alleged savior and the second leading scorer on the Lakers during that 3-year run, Pau Gasol, meanwhile, averaged 18 points per game over the same 67-game span. And in all, Gasol would play 5 full seasons with Bryant and 12 full seasons without him throughout his NBA career. In the 12 years without Kobe, Gasol made 2 total All-Star teams, 1 All-NBA third team, had a playoff record of 11-26, and won 0 championships. With Kobe Bryant in 5 seasons,
Gasol... You can't argue with that. 12 years versus 5 years, and look what he done in the 5. Like, come on, bro. Can't argue with that. Being with Kobe definitely, Pau definitely benefited from being with Kobe Bryant.
Made 3.
Kobe obviously benefited a little bit from being with him, of course, because obviously if he doesn't have a competent enough Robin, I guess you could say, you know what I'm saying, it's not going to work out. But come on, bro. Obviously, Pau benefited more.
All-Star teams, had 3 All-NBA team selections, a playoff record of 55-34, and won 2 titles.
With me, without me. With me,
That's what it looks like to make your teammates better. Bryant would also lead the NBA playoffs in scoring all 3 seasons. That is a feat accomplished by only one other player in modern NBA history, and it was, of course, A1 Michael Jeffrey Jordan. While no other player has ever led the playoffs in scoring
people say
more
like
than
whole
2
day
times in a row.
that should make you
Not
laugh.
Larry
That's
Bird,
like,
not Kevin
that's the statement, like Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Durant,
You know, that's that.
not Steph Curry, not LeBron James. And Kobe scored at least 600 points in all 3 playoff seasons from 2008 through 2010. A feat never accomplished by any player ever, not even Michael Jordan. In a league with such a rich and vibrant history, furnished with countless all-time greats and epic playoff runs, if you really care to look closely, you'll find that one legend stands above all of the rest.
Sheesh. Let me know how y'all feel about this one. I ain't gonna lie, I expected a different playoff run to be chosen, especially by Scat. You know, I ain't gonna lie. I would never lie. I expect them to choose the Dallas Mavericks playoff run. I'm not too sure about their whole run, but I know it was a big upset. I know it was a big upset in the finals. So, you know what I'm saying, I expected him to do that. You know what I'm saying, especially because you know how he feels about LeBron. But I'm glad, you know what I'm saying, refreshing to hear about Kobe Bryant's career in the 2000s. Really, that's really why I was quiet this video as well, because it was more so like a history lesson, just taking in information. You know, I was born in 2003, so I wasn't really watching nothing that was in the 2000s at all. I started probably 2011, you know what I'm saying? Alright. But if y'all enjoyed, click on the last reaction, turn on post notifications, like the video, comment, subscribe. And I'm out of here, man.